got this from Axios. Supreme Court seems likely to uphold ban on gender-affirming care. My friends, today the Supreme Court heard oral arguments as to whether or not Tennessee can ban child sex changes. I think it may go one step further. Depending on how the court wants to rule on this, they may keep it limited and just say, Texas, you're allowed to do this. Thank you and have a nice day. However, if they say the states, Tennessee can't ban this, it has ramifications for all the other states that ban child sex changes. Now, there's a few things that were interesting here. The first thing is that the transgender attorney for the ACLU admitted there is no evidence that child sex changes prevent suicide. That's crazy. Quote, tragically, deaths by suicide in trans people of all ages continue to be above the national average, but there is no evidence that gender affirmative treatments reduce this. Shocking. This is where it gets interesting. This is the story right here. May Mailman tweets, Alito asks whether transgenderism is immutable, meaning you can't change it. ACLU says it's biologically driven, trying to dodge. Alito says, what about gender fluid? ACLU admits that exists. Immutability is the key to being a protected legal class. This argument for the Supreme Court, I don't think it's likely, but has the potential to effectively remove 1964 civil rights protections from people based on gender identity, under the argument that gender fluidity proves that being trans is not immutable. In fact, you can change whenever you feel like it, and thus it is not protected.
I hope that it actually does turn out that way.
Well, the question then is SCOTUS a bunch of cowards?
Well, there are some cowards on SCOTUS, but there are also some absolute idiots. So like Sotomayor and Cade, I forget what her name is. Brown? Yeah, she is an absolute idiot.
She's not a biologist.
She's not a biologist. She definitely isn't. And I mean, and that's part of why I think that, she should be disqualified. Like she should have been disqualified. The fact that she refused to answer what a woman is. I mean, if you're going to refuse to answer based on ideological grounds, I think that should prevent you from sitting on the Supreme Court, particularly when cases like this are going to be brought before the Supreme Court. We know exactly where she's going to come down. There's no reason for her to even spend any time inquiring with anyone about this stuff. You know exactly where she's going to come down, and it's not because of her opinion on the Constitution, but because of her ideological possession by the left.
I got to say, when it comes to being trans, if someone feels that they're in the wrong body, that would be very rough. And I think people like that, it should be taken seriously if someone's feeling like that, and they should be, handled with whatever kind of care and kindness or whatever you need to do to help someone like that. But if you can truly say, I'm a woman now, and then tomorrow you can be like, I'm a man again, it's not a protected class.
Yeah, it's all it is about how you feel, and you're definitely not. You should not receive protections from the government, which will also require accommodation from the rest of society.
I don't understand why these leftists are trying to bring these Supreme Court cases right now. So when it comes to like defamations,
for the lulz,
perhaps. Okay. When it comes to defamation, if Ian says, Tim kicked the dog, and I say, no, I didn't, Ian, I'm going to sue you. Let's say Ian's a big publication. These big publications tend to settle out right away because it's not about whether they're right or wrong. Their lawyers say, listen, you accused the person of doing a thing. You made a statement of fact. They're suing you for defamation. You'll probably win. However, if this goes to court and you lose, and you appeal, or if you win and they appeal, and this goes to the Supreme Court, they could overturn Times v. Sullivan, and you will get sued 5,000 times before the end of the month. So they say, okay, pay them out. The lawyer could say you're going to win the suit, and if they appeal, if it goes to trial, you win, they appeal, Supreme Court could shut down this protection you have in precedent. So they typically just say, we're not going to be involved. We're going to pay you what you want. We're sorry. So for the ACLU right now, knowing it's a 6-3 conservative-leaning court, to say, let's bring this lawsuit forward and try and... Do they think that Alito and Thomas are going to be like, yes, give children sex changes? Yeah, I really don't see that happening. So then you've got Amy Coney Barrett and you've got Kavanaugh, And then I suppose everybody's hoping that Roberts is going to side with them, but he's probably not. But still, I think Gorsuch, and then that's it.
I only hope that this does come out where the Supreme Court does uphold the ban, because this is about children, right? This is about kids, and I've heard, you hear the meme, when you have transgender children, the people deciding the children are transgender are the same people deciding that their cats are vegan, right? It's not something that the children are actually deciding. And I think it's something like 85% of transgender children desist at puberty, and it just turns out that they were gay or lesbian, which there should be no limitation or whatever on who you want to marry or whatever. But as far as children go, and furthermore, if you are taking a position that transgenderism is something that we should affirm when they're adults, and you want to make sure that transgender people can get surgery and blah blah blah, if you prevent the children from going through natural puberty, you cannot produce neo-vaginas, and you cannot make, because there's not enough material with the genitals because they don't develop properly. So even you can make a pro-trans argument, you can make a neither here nor there trans argument, or you can make an anti-trans argument, but the fact of the matter is they're kids. You should not be doing life-changing surgery or giving children drugs that will sterilize them for life because they cannot make an informed decision.
This is interesting. Axios says, just 4 years ago, the court ruled that firing trans workers because they are trans is a form of illegal sex discrimination. Advocates argued that same logic should apply to healthcare. Neil Gorsuch, a Trump appointee, wrote the majority opinion in that case, joined by Roberts and the court's liberals. Gorsuch did not ask any questions Wednesday, so there's no way to know whether he thinks the two cases are aligned. Even if he is inclined to side with the families challenging Tennessee's law, he would need to bring along at least one other conservative justice to achieve a majority. They say oral arguments are an indication of how the justices are thinking about a case, not a surefire prediction of how they'll ultimately rule. It would be insane if the Supreme Court sides with the ACLU and says that Texas isn't allowed to ban these treatments. The oral arguments from Tennessee were sound. He outright said, we used to have lobotomies and other surgeries that irreparably harmed children. We know that. But it was incumbent upon the states to impose those regulations to stop these practices from happening, as we are doing now. And you even have the story from the Post-Millennial where the attorney for the ACLU admitted there's no evidence child sex changes help prevent suicide.
That's really the sticking point for me, because a lot of the argument of we need to rush these kids through life-changing surgeries, is that they would kill themselves if they didn't get it. And if now they're admitting that that's actually not the case, it's not preventing suicides, then I don't see the reason for rushing it.
Yeah.
It's life-saving medical care. That's how they keep on pushing it. Now it's out of the window, so I don't know what they can do now.
There is no, all the evidence indicates that if you give children these surgeries or these kind of life-changing drugs, there is no change in suicidality afterwards. It's still ridiculously high. Some people don't, but it's still incredibly high compared to the rest of society. These people need help, they need care, but they don't need to have the idea that they are the wrong gender or that they were born in the wrong body affirmed. That's not okay. If you're an adult and you say I want to live as a woman and you were born a man, or you're a man and you want to live as a woman, society can handle that. We can absolutely deal with that, because once it stops being something that's pushed in schools and as a trend and something that is cool and unique, and once the LGBT community, that are the politicized LGBT community, stops trying to create more trans people and tell children, oh, maybe you're this. Once it returns to normalcy, it will go back down to being an extremely small percentage of the population. I just saw a tweet, and I don't know where it went to, but something like 1 in 33 people now, 1 in 33 people in Gen Z say they're trans or something like that. It used to be 1 in 170. And this is in the past 10 years. Mario, I think it was Mario Knopfel that posted it. But the point being, it is a trend. And it is a trend because this is the cool, hip new thing. And it is not something that we should be allowing children to have life-altering surgery or take life-altering drugs for. You want, like, if you're a progressive parent and you want to let your kid dress a certain way, let them do it. I don't care, really, but we shouldn't be supporting this.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.